every school year we do a survey, and we do the survey for administrators, mentors, lead mentors, and the new teachers, and we use this information in order to build our program and make it better. We have that growth mindset, and we are always wanting to do things to improve our program and support our teachers and our mentors. So at the end of the past 2 years, we've asked the question, did you feel supported by district resources? In the 18-19 school year, we had 91% said yes out of 229 responses, and that was 229 responses of new teachers. There was over 500 responses altogether throughout the survey, but this specific question was just based on new teachers. This past year, we dropped like 5 points. We had more responses. Did you feel supported by the district resources? So this has led us into some of the changes that we have made, and part of the reason why. Another question was, overall, did you feel supported by your school-based mentor? We had a gain. So we went up from 94% to 93%. So thank you for continuing to do what you're doing. And of course, we hope to get to 100% this year. So based on these two questions has led us to some of the changes. One of the changes is this year we gave every lead mentor a New Teacher Academy handbook, and these wonderful tools were given to every new teacher that attended New Teacher Academy. And within this book has all kinds of acronyms, information on using online resources, network security, retirement information, policies and procedures, and goes through like an MTSS process, and just had valuable information in it. We found that many lead mentors and mentors had no idea that this book was even being handed out. And then we found that some of the new teachers, when they attended New Teacher Academy, they were so overwhelmed and their head was spinning that they had no idea that the information in this book was even correlated with what they were doing with their job and could answer some of the questions. So we wanted to make sure that every lead mentor had their hands on this book and could refer to it and help guide the new teachers through it when they have a question, look at it, have them understand the different sections, and have them understand the acronyms, because a few of the comments on the survey was, I didn't know there was so many acronyms. And another one, said, one of the lead mentors said, why don't we have a book with all this information? And then a bunch of times the comment was, we don't know what we don't know. So we're trying to get the information out so that you can share that information and review that information with the new teachers and with the mentors. And those books are not cheap. They're also on the New Teacher Academy Teams page. So anybody that's in that New Teams Academy can refer to it also through the year. This year we had a change also due to CDC guidelines, and New Teacher Academy had to be virtual. And there was such great feedback on that we decided to continue with New Teacher Academy day one always being virtual. It is in Teams, and anybody, any of the new hires can join it at any time with the code that I sent out back on August 10th, I think it was. I sent that to APs and I sent that to the lead mentors. The new teachers said it was great to go through it and then review it as they're really in the situation and understanding it better. And they said it gave them a chance for their head not to be spinning so much as they, were encountering different situations. They could go through it slower, rewind, review, and take notes on it. We also have the CHAMPS DISC, which will be virtual, and I just sent out an email to you all about that it is open now, and I put Blackboard Ultra, and now they're calling it Blackboard 2.0. I tried to call it Blackboard 2020 and was nixed on that because of the 2020 year we've had so far. We didn't need any more bad mojo attached to anything. And then I have PDCP will be Excuse me? Oh. I do have PDCP. I planned on sending out information to all the teachers that are on a temporary certificate next week, probably towards the end of next week. So any teacher that's on a temporary certificate, you can tell them to watch for an email. I might send it to all the lead mentors also, just that you're aware of what is being sent to teachers on a temporary certificate, because I know right now their head is probably swimming. Lots going on within the schools, and changes daily. So classes that new teachers can take without being in a PDCP program, and classes that count towards their new teacher induction requirements are ESOL, cross-cultural awareness, strategies for engagement, and I know Bridget Reed is getting that set up now. We have CHAMPS or DISC. The reading endorsement classes will be starting soon, and I know at the elementary level it will be task embedded at the school. And then I also sent out information today about ESE through the PDA Fiddlers courses. That they have a ton of courses that are great to use, and they're free. All right, so one of the suggestions also was to have a web page. Well, guess what? We have had a web page. So I just want to bring it to your attention again. If you go to the very top of the Brevard Public Schools page and you go to departments and programs and then down to human resources, you will see that there's a whole page for new teacher induction. I'm sure many of you have already referred to it, pulled up different information, looked at printed some of the induction affidavits, the mentoring log, and everything is there. Pretty much anything that you need for new teacher induction is on that page, and we will update it with information as it comes out. We will also include Bridget Reed's newsletters, which she's going to review later, and that will be included on this page too. On the new teacher induction webpage is a new teacher induction program guidebook for administrators and mentors. And I do have to say that this book, I refer to it regularly whenever I want to make sure that I am answering a question correctly, make sure if state statutes have changed, or just if bargaining has changed through BFT, that this book stays up to date. So I will continue to monitor it and make sure that the most up-to-date information is in it. And that is why it is only website only, not paper-based, because otherwise we would be updating and sending information out all the time. So it was best to keep it just web version. Terminology that we use often with new teacher induction is year one. Of course, year one is instructional personnel that is brand new to teaching. They can come from a university program with an education background, or they can have that temporary teaching certificate, which means that they did not complete an education program. Sometimes they have that temporary teaching certificate because they did go through an education program, but they didn't pass their general knowledge, professional certification exam, or their subject area test. They could also be on a temporary certificate because they have their bachelor's degree is in something else besides education. And I do have to say, our temporary teaching certificate teachers are our most vulnerable teachers and require the most work. So we need to make sure that we embrace them and help them as best as we can. The year two is instructional personnel on their second year of teaching. What constitutes a year is 99 days. So 99 days, according to contract, is 1 year. If a teacher comes on the first part of January and completes their 99 days, they have finished year one. A professional certificate means, again, that they graduated from an education program and they have applied for or have received that professional teaching certificate according to the Department of Education. It is all based through the Department of Education, and it is not a Brevard County decision. Then you have teaching temporary certificates. Again, that usually means that they do not have an education background, or they have not fulfilled the testing requirements. And a temporary certificate is 3 years. So they have 3 years to complete all of that required classes or exams. Identification of mentors. In the Z703 panel and AS400, your APs can go into this, or your principals as a lead mentor. Typically, you do not have access to that. And all the directions were sent to them on how to print a report for year 1 and year 2. I know there were some questions about different teachers and whether they met the criteria or not. And individual schools have been emailing me those specific questions. This year also, the induction roster was created on SharePoint, and deadline for submission is September 15th. I'll be going over a little bit more of that in a few minutes and give you more information at that time. So the administrative contact and lead mentor will work together to place school-based mentors with the new teacher mentees. Of course, we're looking for, you know, similar subjects. Are you teaching the same grade level? We really want to build that collaboration and support with one another, and, you know, make it a friendly yet professional partnership. So there is a list of CET trained teachers that is on the new teacher induction site in the administration folder. And school, I know that we have found some errors on it, and we are continuing to correct that also and update it regularly. So if you have any questions or need any more information about specific people at your school or who is certified at your school, you can reach out to us for that information. Assigning mentors. So year 1 and year 2 temporary certificate teachers must be mentored by an effective or highly effective teacher who has been through CET. That is state statute. Again, they are the ones that need the most work. They are most vulnerable, and many times they don't know what they don't know. So they need somebody that has been trained to assist them and help guide them to be that great teacher. All year 1 and 2 professional certificate teachers, they can be mentored by a CET trained or a peer coaching trained teacher. And then we have a group called non-participation teachers that are new to your building. And those are typically teachers that transfer in from out of state or took a little leave of absence, but have many years of teaching experience, or they could have transferred from a different district. And they don't go on the induction roster, but they still have to follow the same observation criteria that is on a chart and in IPAS. And they can have a buddy mentor, and that's pretty much just to help them with the culture of the school, and not really do the deep mentoring that is required with the year 1 and year 2 teachers. So what is a teacher? What defines the teacher? It's the pre-K through 12 teachers. We also have school counselors, school-based social workers, and speech and language pathologists. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because school counselors, if you don't have another school counselor within the school that can assist them or that can support them, then you will have a teacher in that school be their mentor, but they can also have a district mentor that will help them with what the counseling responsibilities are and what their job task would look like. And then with school-based social workers, again, most schools only have one social worker, and they would still need a mentor because many of them are on a temporary certificate, so it'd have to be a CET trained mentor. But they do have monthly meetings for the school-based social workers in which they receive the information that is specific to their job. And speech language pathologists, now they do not need a school-based mentor because we do have the SLPs that are trained CET through the district, and they get support with mentoring through the district CET teachers. The exceptions for mentoring are retired teachers returning to work, new people that have moved to Florida that have a professional certificate and have many years of experience. And the ROTC instructors do not need a mentor either. So teachers on a temporary teaching certificate, again, they are our most vulnerable group. And you can use the link on the new teacher page to find all of the new teacher training calendar for the 2021 school year. We also have information for the PDCP program, and everything has been structured so that now it is all online. I know it did say 90% because we did have one class that was face-to-face, but now everything is online because of COVID. And they can complete it within the 3 years of their temporary certificate before it expires. The one requirement, though, is they must have passed their general knowledge exam, and they must be teaching in field. They cannot be out of field, and they must have students assigned to them. So it can't be like a teacher on assignment or you know, a different position that does not have students assigned to them. And, you know, any teacher on a temporary certificate, or you, if you have questions about it, you can email me directly, and I am more than happy to give you that information, because I want to make sure that we are sharing the correct information and not confusing them more, you know, adding to the confusion. So forms and procedures. This year, the induction roster is all online. It is in the SharePoint, and only administrators have access at this time. There are different checkpoints in which it needs to be submitted, and that is to make sure that that our new teachers have a mentor assigned to them, that nobody is slipping through the cracks. And I have limited it to APs and principals only at this time, just to make sure that they're aware of who is in their building, make sure that the program is working correctly, and make sure that the information is loaded right, pretty much. So I do plan on opening it in October so that lead mentors will have access to this and can continue updating it. It's a live document. Make changes as needed, add people, remove people, change mentors. There is quite a bit of information that has to go into it because of the reports that we need, such as, you know, your employee 100 number, their employee 100 number, plus whether they're on a temporary teaching certificate or professional certificate, and whether they're in year 1 or year 2 of the induction process. So quite a bit of information goes in, but it also gives us that valuable information we need for our program and to report to the state. Forms that we have. So there are forms for the mentors and mentees. A few of them have changed. I've also made them PDF so that it's a little bit easier to submit. And there's required paperwork, the affidavits, mentoring logs, and the administrative checklists. And we do keep track of that, and it does go into their personnel file. I will tell you, last year, the state offered the opportunity to get an extension on your teaching certificate if they were on a temporary certificate. And Dr. Thuddy actually reviewed the affidavits and mentoring logs to make sure that they had completed the induction process properly before she would sign off on any extensions. So this paperwork is reviewed, and we do try to make sure that everything, you know, we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's on all of that. So again, the guidebook is available online if you have any questions. The induction requirements for the mentee. Here is a quick chart to refer to. I actually print this out and look at it regularly just to make sure that it's up to date, and that we're, you know, completing the process with signing the forms, having the observations, having the teachers do the observations and be observed, and that the paperwork is turned in. Again, a teacher on a temporary certificate in year 1 has to be mentored weekly. If they're in year 2, it can be twice a month. Professional certificate is twice a month. Here's just a copy of what the new teacher induction program affidavit looks like, and a copy of the mentoring log. And we changed the mentoring log this year to make it a little bit more concise and follow some of the topics that teachers were interested in receiving, and to think about what is going on at the school at that time. So the most important, for the beginning of the school year is building that relationship, helping that teacher understand what to do the first week of school. And I know many of you have already had those meetings with your new teachers and supporting them on that. And then when we moved into September, we wanted classroom management, making sure those procedures are down, continuing with the procedures, having that conversation and supporting them, maybe pulling up some videos on YouTube and showing them. And then also this year, one of the really big pushes is that social emotional learning. So we've reached out to Kathleen Erdman, and she has created some videos and some resources for social emotional learning. And during our monthly mentoring chats, we will share presentations and resources that you will have the opportunity to share with your mentors and new teachers at your school. And we want to, keep it aligned with what is going on in the school, keep it aligned with the newsletter Bridget does, and the mentoring log. So we just wanted to tighten those reins and make sure the teachers get the support, and we're all kind of doing the same thing and talking the same language. Again, this is what the mentoring log looks like. It was sent out to you. It's on the new teacher induction website. It has a tab for year 1 and year 2. And it also gives some possible activities, that you could do. Sometimes it's hard to do face-to-face all the time, and some people aren't comfortable right now with the face-to-face. So there are other options. So the induction, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, you were saying that 1 year is 99 days. So does that mean if they started at the beginning of the year, all of my new teachers that are 1 year are considered 2 years in like January-ish?
No,
okay.
That's the minimum that they have to do. So not the maximum. Yeah, that's a minimum. Thank you for clarifying that or questioning that.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. It also, just because they finish year 1 and year 2 doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that they have to be signed off and don't have to have a mentor for year 3. Some people need that extra support. They may have bumped schools, completed a bunch of short terms. There's no box that everybody fits into. So, there's lots of questions, lots of outliers, and we can address those individually. But the 99 days is the minimum that they need to have completed. So just a copy of the induction form. What I recommend is that once these are signed, you make sure that the mentors have a copy, the mentees have a folder and a copy of this to pull up. So if something happens and they end up, transferring to another school, they end up having to take a leave of absence or something, they have copies of the forms that they've completed. We can show that they were receiving the support that they needed. They were in the induction program. Again, it's state statute. Statement of eligibility. Everybody's statement of eligibility looks different. There is no, one form for statement of eligibility. I'm really hoping this year as lead mentors that you have your teachers on a temporary certificate print this out, look at it, review it. If there's any questions, contact me, Dinah Kramer, or Sharon Doucette Duran. We are happy to review this with them, to talk about it, to give options, because the PDCP program is not the only option. There are universities that are out there that they can attend. Eastern Florida now has a program, and not everybody needs the full 18 hours that is offered in PDCP. Some might only need to take the exams, and helping them, get logged in and get signed up to take some of the exams, helping them find resources to study for the exams is important also. So there are copies for social workers too, and the school counselors, and they are different forms. So please make sure that you're using the correct forms with who the mentee is. At the end of the year, in May, the BPS induction agreement, the affidavit, and the mentoring log is required to be sent to me via courier. This year, it was quite a challenge because we did not have that opportunity, and they were all sent via email, scanned to me, and then they all had to be printed, and then they all had to be filed into their human resources folder. So fingers crossed, this year you will be able to send them via courier and make sure that everything is signed and completed. I do need the mentoring log, the induction agreement form, and the completed affidavit. I do not need any observations that were completed. Besides sending them to me, it needs to be that they are retained at the school for 5 years. You should have a spot in the office to where your administrator keeps all of that information, and it needs to be kept there for 5 years. One of the other forms that many teachers on a temporary teaching certificate need is called a PEC. It's also called an accomplished practice. It's also called a FEPS. So it's all three of those terms mean the same thing, and this is the form that they would do. This form is also on the new teacher induction website, and the administrator completes this form at the end of year 2 and submits it to me or Dinah Kramer. And this is actually reported to the state and uploaded before they can apply for their professional certificate. Pretty much it's done through observation, which has been done numerous times through the year. And it's just a checklist that they have met the criteria of being a competent classroom teacher. And right now, the mentoring supplement is $165, but Bridget brought it to my attention that BFT is asking for $500, which would be amazing because we know all that you do. We know how important you are. We know that mentoring teachers is the #1 factor for retention. So we cannot thank you enough. We cannot celebrate you enough, but getting more money would be one way to do it, right? And lead mentors do not have to have mentees assigned to them, but mentors within the school need to have at least 2 mentees assigned to them in order for them to get paid. This is the form that will be completed, and it's usually sent out in the February or March LTP, the leadership team packet. I am begging and pleading for when the administrator completes this, or you complete it for the administrator, or your school secretary completes it, that it is done correctly, because I cannot express how many errors or how much problem there was this year with these, and I'm going to blame it on COVID, but full name means full name. So it would be Lisa Stanley, not Elle Stanley, because there's LaShonda, there's Levon, there's Linda, there's, you know, tons of Stanleys. And then the employee ID, making sure that employee ID is correct is vital to getting paid. Otherwise, it is just slowing down the process of you getting paid. So please make sure this is done correct. And it's an auditable item, and we have to make sure that they are completed correctly. And then I have to take this roster and I have to verify it against the induction roster that was completed 4 times through the year. So this information needs to match that induction roster on the SharePoint site. So everything has to align. All right. Do I have any questions for me before we move on?
Lisa, this is Bridget. I just
Sure.
wanted to bring up a point that I just talked with Mike Galba regarding the January date. If a teacher, it's around January 19th that we've shifted the date a little bit later. So that date's not set in stone exactly, but if a teacher was hired around January 19th or later, they're considered a short-term contract. And so that would not be part of the 99 days. So anybody who might have been hired before that date And we'll keep everybody up to speed on it when that data is actually set in stone. But if they're hired before around January 19th, they will be considered completing a contract year. But that date or later will be a short-term contracted, and they're going to be N-coded, which means not rehired at the end of the year. So I just wanted to give that clarification because that date has changed.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Linda.
Well, thank you, Lisa. You did a great job, and you certainly explained a lot of details that I know many of our new lead mentors were wondering about. So again, I want to welcome you as new lead mentors. Our team here, Lisa, Bridget, and myself, so appreciate you taking on this really, really important role. And what I'd like to do on my part tonight is just go into a little bit of detail on what your roles and responsibilities are as a lead mentor. So that's what I'm going to spend some time on. And again, please feel free as we go through to raise your hand, put something in the chat room if you have a question, and happy to make this conversational. Next slide, Lisa. Yeah, thank you. All right, so lead mentor responsibilities. Just an overview of what I'd like to share tonight is to give you the ideas of what I should be doing as a lead mentor. And here are 5 bullet points that I think are very important. You need to be able to identify your mentors with your administrator. You're going to work together with your administrator. You become that team with them. And once again, what a great leadership opportunity, as many of you are looking to move into teacher leadership roles, maybe future admin roles, district level roles. So this is a great opportunity here. And what you're going to be doing is developing your mentoring team. And why we put these lead mentors in place 2 years ago was because once I finished training clinical educator training, I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mentors spread throughout our very large district. And it was really, really hard for me to be able to contact people and really get a feel of what was going on in each of the schools. So I thought, what a great idea. I have one key contact person in each school. If I have questions, if there's any issues, if I need to come visit the school, I have my contact person. So that is the reasoning behind starting these lead mentor roles. So the next thing we're going to talk about is providing support to your mentoring team. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time on monitoring your mentors, providing that professional development to your mentoring team, and then on to your new teachers, and collaborating. So we'll take a few minutes and talk about each of these bullet points. All right, so our first one is ensuring mentors meet these minimum requirements. So as you are looking at your mentoring team, what I'd love for you to do is make sure that each of the people that are assigned to mentor our new teachers, really important with those first year teachers on a temporary certificate that Lisa was talking about, first and second year actually would be really important, that they have finished the state mandated clinical educator training. And you can email me because I keep a master list. And the way that master list works is every time I finish a clinical educator training, normally there's about 40 people in each training. What I do is I have a report generated through Progo that adds the new people's names onto our master district list. And then I can just cut and paste all the teachers' names from your school and send them to you so you can double check. And then if you find someone that's not on that list, please email me, Lisa, and we have other ways that we might have to do a little bit more investigating, especially if some of these teachers have come from another district. But we really do, in the end, through our investigation, we'll be able to tell you if they are CET trained or if they need to jump on board and take our CET training here in Brevard. So super important. Encourage mentors to take the CET online refresher course. As you're looking at your mentoring team, I have the master list and I can tell we have a lot of mentors out there that may have taken the training back in 1990, 95, 2000, and that's fine. You know, there's not been a requirement from the DOE that they had to take a refresher course. But now we've developed one, and Lisa Stanley and I attended the update the Clinical Educator Update Facilitator training this summer. It was a 9-week-long virtual training. And we have a lot of new topics that we're really excited to bring to you that the Department of Education says would really be helpful for all of our mentors to update their skill set. So that actually opened up yesterday, and it's going to be open the entire fall. It's opened up on September 1st, and it will close on December 11th. And it's a self-paced training. And another great part about that training is there's an assessment at the end. Once you pass the assessment, get the mastery level that I've put into the course, and you make that grade, it pushes the credit right to your transcript. So how great is that? You do it, and instantly you know if you passed it, goes right to your transcript, and then you are all set. So I'd love to encourage anyone, even if you took CET, the initial with me 2-3 years ago, there are new topics that were included in the refresher. Some of those topics, if you're wondering, would be things like content planning conferences. I did not talk about that in our initial CET. That's a new piece. Growth mindset is a new piece. And the other new piece is targeted feedback. We did a lot of work on feedback, but they've included some new pieces on what targeted feedback looks like, what it sounds like, some great new sentence stems for you. There's some new videos for you to watch. So I think it would be a really great thing. If you have any other questions about that, you can certainly email me. And also thinking about talking with your mentoring team, we really would like our mentors to have a minimum of 3 years of successful teaching experience. So successful means that you're confident that they have good classroom management skills, they can build good relationships with their students, their instructional delivery and facilitation is on point, they're teaching to the standards. So that's really important too. And then effective or highly effective on their most recent evaluation, that's going to be the 2018-19 evaluation, because obviously the 19-20, we didn't have one. So I would love for you as the lead mentor to really work with mostly your assistant principal. That's who's going to be the induction contact in most situations. So work with them and kind of go through these particular check marks here and make sure those things are occurring and you're building a really strong mentoring team. The next slide is talking about providing support. Our expectations are that you are meeting monthly with your team, and that can be a face-to-face meeting. That would be great. Or you can use our platforms. We have Microsoft Teams, which you're on tonight. We also have Zoom now, and I know a lot of you like using Zoom. Those would be 2 really good platforms to use. And Lisa mentioned this, but I'll just reiterate it again. In these monthly meetings, we are going to be giving you some topics, resources, and some videos that we feel are really important for you to share at these monthly meetings with your mentors, and that the mentors would ultimately get these topics in the hands of our new teachers. And those topics are provided on your mentoring logs, which Lisa did share with you. I also sent out an email about these monthly chats, and I gave some of the dates down because I know you're all planners, but the first one does not occur until September 23rd. And I will be sending out another reminder again about the monthly meeting chats with the particular dates. So more coming on those. And then I would love for you to follow up on required new teacher observations. So you want to make sure that your mentors are actually completing those required observations with their mentees. They're also meeting weekly with those teachers that are first year on a temporary certificate. Second year teachers, it's twice a month. So those are important things that I would really like you to follow up on. And that all the documentation that Lisa spoke about, which would be the induction affidavits, the induction agreements, the mentoring logs, that you collect those from your mentoring team, make sure they're done accurately. She talked about how she wanted them completed. So your job would be to make sure they're filled out completely and send them to Lisa, so that when she gets them, she's not frustrated here, like she talked about, wondering who these teachers are, trying to check up on names that she can't read, or they're not full names on these documents. So you could be very, very helpful in providing an easier process here at the district. So, and I thank you for that. The next area that I'd love for you to work on is monitoring your mentors. So with your administrative support, ensure that these new teachers are consistently matched with mentors that are knowledgeable about subject matter. Very important, content standards, school procedures, policies, classroom management. So as you are looking to build that team and assign those new teachers certain mentors, look at the personalities. Really get to know your mentors, what their personality is like, what they feel their strengths are. You can even talk to them a little bit about the classroom rubric, because as you know from clinical educator training, we are doing our observations based on the dimensions and elements in the rubric. And we also talked about this in clinical educator training, how important it is to get to know your teachers and where their strengths are. There's going to be people that are really strong in technology. There's going to be some of your mentors that are really strong in classroom management, and some are going to be really strong in transitioning and differentiation. So get to know their strengths. And then when you get to know your new teachers, it's a lot easier to make sure that the fit is good. And if you're finding, in October that you're hearing a new teacher come by and tell you, yeah, I haven't seen my mentor in weeks, that you could kind of check up on that and see if it's a personality conflict or what's going on in the life of that mentor that they're not able to work with their mentee. And since you are controlling that mentoring team, you have the ability to make changes. And that's what's so great about having a team. Me at the district here, if that was occurring, I wouldn't know that was happening in your school. But as you are truly paying attention to who your mentors are, getting to know your new teachers, and looking and really making sure that they're building a strong relationship. Because we know new teachers will stick around if they feel supported by their school, their mentors, and if they're left out alone and they're struggling and they don't feel like they have any support, they'll leave. And we all know we really can't afford to lose our new teachers. So I'm really happy that through this team process that you have the ability to make those changes when things aren't working out. So thank you for paying attention to that. Next slide is providing our professional development. So you can support your mentors in planning for new teacher site-based trainings. So another great thing for leadership, as you know, is taking a look at building professionalism in PD. What are some of the areas that your new teachers need support in? And giving some of those mentors a chance to provide PD at your monthly meetings. Maybe there's a certain topic that's important in your school. Maybe it's social emotional learning. Maybe it's something within discipline and champs that Lisa's been talking about that your school is participating in. And then you could help support them and help them grow by giving them some options of doing a 10-15 minute PD session within your mentoring team meeting. And also assisting with registration for New Teacher Academy. I have had the opportunity to work with our new teachers. And what I have found during that time of working with those new teachers, they tell me that anytime they have to work within ProGo and do any kind of registration within ProGo, it's very, very difficult. So what I would love for you to do is assist them with that new teacher registration and also sharing innovative resources and research. So I think that would be really helpful from the lead mentor. And you could even take some time to look at what's new in research. E-learning is a big thing right now. And how can you help support some of our newer teachers in e-learning? And we're kind of all working on this together. So I know myself here, Bridget and Lisa, we're thinking, we got to do some research. We got to find out how we can support many of you when it comes to supporting you in hybrid learning and new ways of work and using technology. So that would be another area for you to do some research and share that during your team meetings too. So providing professional development to your mentor teachers is really number one. And then the last one is collaborating. And what I would love for you to look at with the collaborating piece, Lisa change, thank you, is working with mentors to ensure mentoring processes are implemented. Build relationships with your mentoring team. Open your classroom for observations. Maybe it's a good idea if you have a brand new mentor that's come from another school, that's come from another district, and you want to figure out not sure. I don't know how they teach. I don't know what their thoughts are. I don't know what their policies, procedures are. I don't know how they run their classroom. Maybe just ask if you can go in and just kind of sit down and, have that peer-to-peer, peer coaching type observation, just so that you can get an idea of what your mentor teachers are actually doing in the classrooms. And peer coaching is a great opportunity to do that. It's peer-to-peer, it's doing observations, it's having those collaborative conversations and those meetings with your peers. Again, creating a culture by observing the mentors and providing feedback, and then discussing assessment data. That's another area when I was working with our new teachers through some of our new teacher networking, and we used to do our meetups. They were really, really struggling with data. And they said to me, they were told to go on and use Performance Matters, but they said it was very overwhelming for them. And there was so much in Performance Matters that they said they would really like someone to spend some time with them and show them what they really needed to know. So, it goes back to what I was saying before. Progo was a little bit overwhelming for them. Performance Matters was overwhelming. Some of the elementary report cards were overwhelming. So these are certain things that I think you as a lead mentor can talk to and have discussions with your mentoring team. And then your mentoring team would know, hey, I really need to focus on some of these things with my new teachers, and I need to spend some time. Or you as a lead mentor need to spend some time with your mentor, showing them and guiding them too. And then, of course, scheduling those mentor team meetings. So important that it's monthly. It can be face-to-face, depending on how things are going at your building. I know we can have small group meetings as long as we're following the social distance guidelines, or maybe doing it through Teams or Zoom or however you want to do it. But keeping up with those monthly meetings would be really important. So before I move on to the data collection tools, does anyone have any questions on responsibilities, roles and responsibilities? Because I feel that the lead mentor is truly the lifeline between the district and the schools, and it's such an important role. And since we've had that in place, I know it's made our job here at the district a lot easier. So once again, appreciate you taking on and making sure you're checking the boxes on everything I've talked about. Okay, any questions? No? Okay, so data collection tools for school-based mentors. We have some data collection tools I want to share here, and all of you have taken clinical educator training, so you know what they are, and you, in my trainings at least, have experienced them because we saw videos on them, we actually role-played, we used them, and we did use this form too. This is our classroom performance indicator, and these are located on our new teacher induction website. We are currently working to update them somewhat. There's some areas that I feel could be updated, especially within the technology area. And I have one of our lead mentors working with us on that right now. So they will be tweaked a little bit in the future, but not much. So the form is still there for you to use. And just a reminder on how to use these. These are where you're going to record that observable evidence. These are those concrete examples. So when you go in a classroom and say, for example, this is element 1, creates and maintains a safe and organized learning environment. What this element is looking for is safety within the classroom. All areas of safety. So the first 4 example indicators are proficient, what proficient would look like and sound like based on the indicators in our rubric, the classroom rubric for the evaluation system. And the last 3 that are bolded give you an idea of what would align to distinguish professional practices in our rubric. And it's not saying that if a teacher does, every one of those 3 that are bolded, they're going to be distinguished, but it gives you an idea as an observer of what to look for. For example, that consistently maintain a safe learning environment. There's backpacks are not lying on the floor. There's room for people to move. The fire drill exit procedures are posted. If there's any certain windows that are used for fire exits, that there's not books lined up and stacked up in front of those windows. So those are things that help you as an observer, especially as a new mentor, if maybe you haven't been in classrooms a lot. Okay. All right, and our next tool would be our pre-conference checklist for mentors. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the data collection tools within here. This pre-conference checklist for mentors is what I'm asking you as the mentor to use, obviously, and as a lead mentor, but also to make sure that your mentoring team is using these correct forms. Okay, we created these forms and we've been updating them every year if they need to be updated. But if you took CET 5, 6, 7 years ago, there were different forms. So I just want to make sure that you're not using old forms. And the way I can do that is to say, lead mentors, during your mentoring team meetings, make sure that the forms we're talking about today are the only ones that your mentors are using with their new teachers. So our pre-conference checklist for mentors, briefly, it talks about when you have that meeting, you're going to identify the standard and quadrant of the learning cycle. Really important that you have a conversation with your mentee as to what they want you to observe. Okay, you're not going to go in there and just tell them. They need to be part of the conversation too. It needs to be a dialogue. What's working well, what's not working well, what standard do we need to be working on, where in the learning cycle are we? Are we just in day one and we're just starting the unit or the lesson, or are we finishing it and maybe the kids are going to be doing presentations? So it's important for you to know what you're going to be seeing. Also, you're going to identify right there if it's dimension and element to be addressed. Going to have a discussion again on what you would like to work on. What kind of feedback is the mentee looking for? And then right there is those data collection tools. And I often get questions from mentors asking me for copies of the data collection tools. So I just want to remind you that the only ones you can find on the website are the classroom performance indicators, which was the first form I just talked about. It's on the new teacher website. It aligns with the rubric. And there is a selective verbatim on there. Verbal flow, classroom traffic, at task, and shadowing, you have to create. Those are those seating charts that you create. So you're going to have to work with your new teacher with their seating charts, because those are the particular data collection tools where you're going to be drawing arrows or charting the path of the teacher walking around the room, you know, or recording students on task, off task, going desk to desk. So that's the reason for only 2 of those being posted on the website. And then again, you can read the logistics. Really important that you have some conversation about these logistics, confirm a date and time of the conference, and also please at that point in time when you're doing the pre-conference, also confirm the date and time for the post-conference. Because if you don't, chances are it won't happen. So you want to get both the dates on both of your calendars. So pre-conference checklist is really important. And then the next one that we're going to be talking about is the mentor teacher post-conference planning guide. And this is the one that you're going to use after you observe the new teacher and after you've had a chance to sit down with your data collection tool and analyze it. So now you're going to have a form that kind of guides you through developing your post-observation conference. So you can see the parts of it here, opening the meeting, obviously building the relationship, purpose of the meeting and agreements, going back to the pre-conference and saying, hey, at this pre-conference, you know, we agreed to look at dimension 2, element 1. And I've used this data collection tool to record the information from your class. And then before you start giving your data or asking them how they thought they did, it's always nice to kind of share what went well. You know, pick something out that you felt works well in that classroom, because it really starts the conference by maintaining the teacher's self-esteem. And then we left a section for clarifying and sharing the data. What specific details did I document? You know, what behaviors should I talk to this new teacher about, you know, maintaining or increasing, if there's any patterns, behavior that need to be addressed. And that leads you into your discussion. After, you know, kind of talked about the data, you're going to talk about and discuss using your questioning skills. You know, what are the areas for improvement? What is the teacher feeling? You know, what are the ideas on something that would move them forward? And then the next piece is the close of the meeting, which we call our little action plan here. And it talks, really important, what will you work on? You're working with your new teacher on committing to something they're going to work on. how they feel they're going to get there, and how they will know they've achieved whatever it is that you've decided with that new teacher to work on. So if this piece is missing, oftentimes the new teacher leaves the conference and the mentor will say to me, they're not doing anything. You know, we spent this time on observations, I did a post-conference, and they're not doing anything. So this is the commitment, and we'll see on the next form too, where that new teacher is going to have a place to write down the same steps. So you are going to write it on your paper as a mentor, they're going to write it on theirs, and the next time you meet, you're going to go back and talk about what happened. You know, what was it they worked on? Did they get there? And obviously, what were the steps that they took to do that? Okay, Lisa, can you flip back to the previous slide real quick? Yeah. So the last piece of that mentor teacher post conference planning guide is closing the meeting. So however you want to close that would be really important. Talking to them, I know in working with our new teachers, they're really, really excited if you share something that you loved from their lesson. If you can find something you say, you know, I so much loved your bell ringer. You know, I loved how you engaged the students. Maybe the Socratic discussion was like rockin' great that day. And you say, I'd love to try it in my classroom. I know it really, really, really builds their self-esteem because they've told me. So that's a great way to close the meeting, you know, just a takeaway that you could tell them you'd like to use in your class. Okay. All right, and the last one, which Lisa had shown before, is the Mentee post-conference notes. So during that post-conference, this would be the note page that your mentee would be using to kind of take notes and really talk, you know, kind of guide themselves as they listen to you to record what you're saying, but also maybe jog their memory on any questions or anything that they would want to ask you. So they're going to write down the dimension and element that was observed. They're going to jot down the key learnings from your post-conference. And then again, what they're going to work on, how will they get there, and how will they know they've achieved it. And then I like that last comment. I'll be meeting with my mentor again on, so there's your date, to discuss the results of my work and achievements listed above. So the next time you have another meeting with them, they're going to have something to share with you. So we have used these forms now. We're going on our 3rd year, and feedback is really good, very strong. I'm hearing really good things about it. But I always say, hey, you know, we're always open to feedback. So as you use these forms throughout the year, if you're like, hey, there's something we could add to it to make it even better, I'm so open to that. You know, just kind of shoot me an email and say, you know, I'd like you to consider something else that I've been doing that worked on these forms that maybe we could add. So I thank you for that. And once again, it's really important, you as a lead mentor, to make sure your mentoring team is using these forms. They are posted on the new teacher website. And then I think we have 2 more for social workers, school counselors. Again, very similar to what you just saw for our teachers, but we try to really gear these towards the job of a social worker or school counselor. So these are there if you need to use them, and it will help you with a little checklist to kind of, you know, see what they may be doing in those particular roles during an observation. So they're there for you too, and they're also posted on the website. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before I turn it over to Bridget about the forms, where to find them, how to use them? Yeah, so I thank you once again for just making sure that our mentoring teams are really understanding and using these forms and understanding the roles and responsibilities. So I'm going to turn it over to Bridget. There you go, Bridget.
Yay! Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Lisa. I have about 33 more forms I'd like to go over with you. I'm just kidding you. Those forms are so important, but I know right now you're just thinking forms, 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 and you will use those if you're new to it, but don't get overwhelmed with those right now. It's so important we go over those, but I know by the end of the day, I'm just hoping I'm going to keep you guys going right now with some stuff. And, you know, I know Lisa said thank you so much. Linda has said thank you so much. I'm saying thank you so much for everything you're doing. I get to be a part of the recruitment team where we go out to the universities. We've actually gone out of state to bring in new teachers. And one of the number one questions they ask is, am I going to have a mentor at my school? So these kids graduating, they know how important it is to have a mentor at the school, and you leading your team is it's just so impactful. And you know, the survey that Lisa was talking about earlier, we got a lot of answers on that from new teachers. They know they couldn't have made it through the school year without your support and your mentoring team's support. So thank you again. Lisa also mentioned about the union, trying to negotiate a raise, you know, and as far as the stipend, it's been put out there. If you got the email, you probably read that from Anthony Colucci. They're asking for $500. And, you know, quite honestly, it probably should be a lot more because we're putting a lot of work into what we're doing with the mentoring. But if we could get that 500, that would be awesome. I know that 165 is that you're working a lot more than $165 worth. But I think the main point here is you're just such a strong part of our recruitment and retention team. I mean, you're the ones in the school, you are the ones retaining those new teachers. And so I just want to put that out there for you. One of the things that we do is the newsletter, and I try to do it every 2 weeks. And last year, I only put it out to the lead mentors. I mentioned this when we were doing the training for the lead mentors. And this year, I'm including all the mentors. So you do not have to send it to the mentors this year. I have everybody on the email address. If you do have a new mentor that's going to be working with some teachers, please just send me their email address so then I can add them to the address list. And so they get that as well. Lisa, do you want to go on to the next slide, please? All right, so the newsletter is broken down into 8 different areas. And I love your feedback on this. I did get a lot of feedback when we did the survey, and I want it to be pertinent. I want it to be something that really, you know, that you can use immediately. And so it's broken up into all these different areas. And, you know, obviously you can read the slide as well, but the ones that we're really concentrating on right now, all of them are super important, obviously, but the personal is really where we're at right now. You know, there's that saying, we cannot get to Bloom without taking care of Maslow. So, for example, we have some kids that graduated from out of state who have come in to our county. They didn't know a soul coming here, 22 years old. Some of them had never been to our area, Brevard County. And so their personal needs are a little different than someone, say, who is a new teacher to us, but she came from out of county. She's married with kids. So it's really just meeting those mentees where they are. That 22-year-old from out of state, you know, they're looking to figure out, okay, where would I live that could still, where I'm still going to meet other 22-year-olds. They may ask you those kind of questions. A doctor, where would I shop? You know, they're real personal questions. So, you know, really talk to your mentors about meeting those teachers where they are, that personal part. And as we go forward, we're looking, especially with the virtual learning, e-learning, excuse me, about recording, using video recording to do some observations of the classroom. And this could be, and we're putting this together, and it will get there probably in another month or two, be sharing that out. But it's going to save a lot of time for the mentors observing those things that Linda had talked about, say a specific strategy that a new teacher wants to work on, and using video recording, that they're going to record that, share that with the mentors. And that's how we're going to do some back and forth feedback. It could be something that you as a classroom teacher are strong in, a classroom management technique. It could be transitions, anything like that that you record of your classroom and you're sharing with your mentee. But so that's down the road. But in order to get to that point, we we have to make sure we have trust between each other. We can't record a teacher without that trust being built. And that's actually what's occurring right now, building those relationships. Because, you know, when we do a video recording, I don't know if any of you have ever done national boards. I know a lot of you have. But you remember, you're very vulnerable. You put yourself in a vulnerable position when you are recording. Everybody, I mean, I don't care who you are, when you start to see yourself on a recording, you can't get past, you know, your hair. You can't get past your outfit where you're like, why did I think that looks good? So we have to build that trust right now. And so that is where we're concentrating on. So really encourage your mentoring team at the school to build those relationships right now, build that trust. Going down into those 8 areas of concern: professionalism. There's going to be tips and ideas on curriculum, instruction, assessment. Organizational systems, that's another big one right now. And I'm going to put time management into that spot too, because a lot of new teachers, they just, that's a struggle for them. They are spending maybe so much time with lesson planning, or they're not spending enough time. They just don't have down all of their time management skills yet. And that's where, as a mentor, and then you leading the mentors, can really step in. They are also overwhelmed with emails. A lot of them don't know how to set up their Outlook yet to do files and different folders. So those areas between personal and organizational systems is really probably where we're going to be concentrating right now. Another thing will be students, colleagues, you know, some of the pitfalls that can go on with colleagues, or pluses Linda brought up. You have the idea in your school right now, who's super strong in classroom management, who's really good with doing socially distant cooperative learning techniques right now. So just knowing that whole school, all of the people involved, who you can put in touch with the mentors and the mentees to see particular strategies being used, that's a part of your position as well. School systems. I will always have tips on that, because not only is it the system at your school of how it affects all the teachers, but at the district level, I try to include things there too to share with you. For example, I know when I was in the classroom, a lot of times I would hear from other teachers at other schools about initiatives coming down that wasn't shared with me at my school. And I wasn't always reading the leadership team packet that comes through the district. So I try to share that in the newsletter as well. Different PDs, because we have a lot of different departments here. So we try to put it all together so it's all for you in that newsletter. So you don't have to go digging and searching, because we all know, frankly, our website can be layered, and to find things just takes a lot of time. And so to make it easier, I try to put that in the newsletter for you. Parents and community tips to work with your mentees on, you know, connections with the parents, making sure that they are getting out there ahead, positive thoughts with the, not positive thoughts, but positive connections, and just communications with those parents right out of the gate. It will help as we go further into the school year. And then I always try to do a note on things that are affecting ESE, and how to make the connections there with other ESE teachers in the district, topics that will come up at that particular time. Okay, Lisa. Next slide, Lisa.
My computer's buffering right now.
Okay. Well, I don't have the slide in front of me. What am I talking about?
Hold on, I'll tell. There you go.
There we go. Okay. So I also do videos and try to add those in the newsletter. And lead mentors, if you've got something going on at your school that's good, I need you to toot your own horn. I need you to get a hold of me. I will come to your school, videotape your team, how, you know, you're all interacting. If you remember the newsletters last year, I really showcased some different schools. I did elementary, middle, high school. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, people. We can borrow, copy. I mean, that's how we do it in education. So if you're doing something, I would love to come and showcase it for other people to be able to use as well. So please reach out to me. If you don't reach out to me, I'll probably reach out to you, because I can hear, because I'm in the schools, I hear from new teachers when they say my mentor is great. I want to see how that relationship looks, so then we can share it with other schools. But I do have videos. It would be on the mentoring programs. I do have one, and actually I'm going to put the, if you can see on that slide right there, it's the phases of teacher. And you know what? It's true. So like just 2 weeks ago, they were full of anticipation and excitement. They couldn't wait to get started. And as you see, it's starting to go down a little bit. And then we kind of hit rock bottom. I think it's around October, November. And that's when we really have to ramp it up as mentors to keep them motivated, because that first year is so tough. But you know what, it kind of goes down and does that curve at the bottom. It's kind of about the same time we're all feeling burned out. So, you know, we can kind of feel like, oh, if I'm feeling this way, I know what the new teacher's feeling. So I just try to mimic all of the things in the newsletter to follow that curve. Hard conversations. This is the one question, some of the questions I get asked the most. How do we have hard conversations with a peer? Excuse me, it's a little easier when it's a brand new teacher. Sometimes it's more challenging of how to have a hard conversation with a mentor on your team, because they're a colleague. Some of you, they may have been around longer than even you've been a teacher. So how do you get that mentor or a colleague to move and progress? And so I will have videos on that. One of the things, you know, I do want to talk a little bit about as you're picking the mentor for people, and Linda brought it up, you know what? We have mentors and mentees change quite a bit. And I've said this before, not every awesome teacher is a good mentor. It doesn't go hand in hand at all. So just keep that in mind. Some of the rock star teachers that we have in our county are not good mentors at all. A mentor really has to be somebody who really wants to establish a relationship, really wants to listen, but the main skill is being able to target a strategy and get someone, an adult, to move as you're the catalyst to get that teacher to move towards progress. And it's built on trust. And sometimes some people just don't have that skill, and that's okay. They're rock stars in the classroom. But just be aware of that when you're working with your mentors, that some relationships, you know, are just not agreeable, and it's nobody's fault. But that is your position to start to match people up according to how we can get a new teacher from the developing category on our evaluation to proficient, and what relationship will get them to do that movement. So you'll see videos on hard conversations, areas of focus. We'll talk about that. I will do some videos on district information, issues that arise, and especially when to turn it over to administration. If a new teacher you're working with is taking a lot of time, a lot of energy, more so than should be, and it's hard to find that what should be, what's more time, you get a sense that they just need more. That's when you turn it over to administration. You don't have this, you don't own that. That's why they went into administration. And then if the administrator, you know, that we're going to be having this training next week also with some new admin and some the APs. And when it's too much for them to handle, my colleague John Hayes and I step in. So you don't know, there's no award, there's no medal for making it through this with a very challenging teacher. You don't have enough time for that. Your mentors don't. So that communication with your mentors is really important. And that's when it's time to turn it over to administration. Lisa, what's the next slide? Because I do want to talk about a couple of things with the paperwork. Are you buffering still? All right, ongoing mentor support. I will go through, like I said, the district information, especially PD opportunities. Because we can't bring any teachers in the first 9 weeks, we're trying to put a lot of the trainings up on Blackboard 2.0. And so we're like the new teacher trainings, like strategies for engagement, lesson planning we're putting up there. Linda had brought up Progo, and in my last newsletter, I had a video of Lynette Thorstensen really going through an in-depth kind of Progo 101. And if you haven't shared that yet with your new teachers, or you want to do that with the mentors and the mentor wants to share it with the new teacher, do that. I thought it was a great step-by-step. But so we're doing PD opportunities, and I will push that out as soon as those trainings are up and in Progo. I will let you know so you can share that with your mentees. Any initiative updates, like I told you before, I know what it's like not to know what's going on. So I try to share that as well. All right, Lisa. Okay, so here is the list of all of the people who are supporting the new teachers. And I know Lisa and Linda have mentioned them. You know to contact Linda. Lisa does the new teachers. She does the professional development certification program, the alternative certification program. Here's the deal. If there's anything with the statement of eligibility, certification questions, I don't know, do I take a test or do that? People, don't go near that one. Pass that one on to Lisa or Dinah or Sharon, the list right there. We've lost teachers, even as recently as last year, several teachers because of misinformation. I won't touch that certification, those certification questions with the 10-foot pole. Please don't feel like you have to own that. When it's a question with the statement of eligibility, well, what does this mean? What do I, just pass it to them. That's their jobs, and it just makes it easier. So those are the 3 people who should be doing anything with the statement of eligibility, the certifications. And that's really a black and white. So just, you know, the admin has actually been asked to just give it to Dinah, Lisa, and Sharon because of misinformation. You know, the FLDOE is constantly changing these rules and all of this stuff, and they have the screens right in front of them. So they're able to go through the most updated information for your new teacher. So my suggestion is just don't go near it. And the new teachers have been told that as well. So just be aware of that one. So that's the induction team right there to support you. There is another person in our department. Her name is Jeanette Susie. And she's not listed here because mainly what her position is she is to be in the classroom only with first-year temporary certificate teachers. That's it. And really what we want, here's the vision. Here's the whole vision, people. And this started years ago, and we're getting, if we could get the money up, then we got the whole picture. But, you know, Linda was the pioneer with this. Linda Buffum years ago, putting together that peer coaching, putting together the mentoring training. And I've gone out to a lot of different districts in the county and tried to pick and choose what are the best mentoring practices we have in place. Lisa Stanley coming on board last year, it's really coming together here, and you being the lead mentor, leading these mentoring teams is really where it's at. And so the number one relationship is the school-based mentor and the mentee. The lead mentor running the program, that school-based mentor and the mentee. So Jeanette Susie coming in is really in the classroom doing the hand-holding, not the paperwork, but the hand-holding within the classroom. And based on really what the school-based mentor sees is there might be a possible issue. It could be this teacher doesn't know how to line the kids up quickly enough, or they're a mess, or we can't get them to walk in the hallway, or they're not passing out papers correctly. That's where Jeanette can come in if the school-based mentor sees there's an issue, and she can practice a little bit more and support that school-based mentor with any strategies you determine there. So I know sometimes there can be a lot of people from the district coming in, but I wanted to kind of give a breakdown there of what every person's position is. So if you have any questions about who gets what responsibility there, you know, you can do it in a chat, or since it's such a small group, you can just unmute yourself to ask a question. And then Lisa, was that it on the slides?
Yep, that's it, except for question and answer session.
Yay! Okay, so here we are with question and answers. Please, you guys, it really is a small group. So if you want to unmute, just ask a question. It could be something back from Linda or Lisa. Feel free to do that. We'll just pause for a second to see.
Is everybody just tired?
I know. Everybody's ready for Labor Day. I know, a 3-day weekend. It's almost here, people.
All right.
One more second here. Looks like we don't have any. No. Oh, is that a question? Or is that you buffering, Lisa? All right. So I'm going to wind it up. And thank you so much on behalf of Linda, Lisa, unless you want to jump on, just thank you. We have chats coming up. I have the newsletter coming out right after Labor Day. Again, feedback from you is so important. Even if you don't like something, I love that feedback. I want to know what's working for you. So we really appreciate the time and effort and just the impact you're making on these mentees.
Thank you, Bridget. Hey, we have an AP version on Tuesday. Is that right?
Is
That's
it Tuesday,
correct.
guys?
Yeah,
Tuesday.
it's Tuesday. Yep, there's
Okay.
2 different sessions on Tuesday, and that's going to, go into a little bit more detail on all of these topics, and not as, it's going to be a little bit different. Some of the information will be the same, but then it's going to go into more detail with Dinah. Kramer will be part of it also.
All right. Well, you guys did a great job. Thank you so much for coming from a new AP.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to talking and seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.